I am so stressed right now. Okay?
You could literally watch Kristen chain smoke cigarettes for freaking hours.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. How are you? Today we are going to be discussing the secret lives of Mormon wives. That's what we're going to talk about today. Why do I have my headphones on? I don't freaking know. I don't need them. Get off of me. Get away from me. All right, now listen. It took me some time to get you guys set up, okay? So if this doesn't work, if it gets all messed up, the anger issues are about to exist, okay? We are in my lovely bathroom that I redecorated myself. Oh, I'm a housewife. I'm a homemaker. Just like my Tumblr bottle, not sponsored, but I love it. All right, so here's the thing. I have so many thoughts and opinions about this movie, show, television program. And if I'm staring off into the nether regions over here, it's because I'm looking at myself. I like myself, okay? And if you don't like that, I don't know what to tell you, okay? But I love myself. So I figure what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my hair and makeup because I am going to the movies tonight with my hubby. I'm having a date night. We're going to see Beetlejuice. It is one of my husband's favorite franchises of all time. So I was like, you know what, Daddy? We're going to go out together. Yes, we are. So I'm very excited. So I'm going to do my makeup and my hair while my baby is napping because that is genuinely the only time I can do anything in my household. We're going to do that and we're going to talk about the secret lives of sister wives. Now, this is a jumbled up mess as most of you are used to. These are just random thoughts and opinions that I have about the entirety of what I've watched, okay? And I think there's more episodes to come, but I've watched all the way up till episode like 8 or 9, I think is what's on Hulu right now. So I'm just gonna talk to you about what I've seen so far, and we're just kind of gonna go from there, okay? So here we go. Also, a lot of you have been saying that you like that I don't edit my videos because I can pump them out faster. So guess what, team? No editing. Unless something crazy happens in the background that I have to edit it out. But overall, this is not going to be edited because it is the fastest way I can get things out for you guys. So that way you have content. And as most of you have shown me and told me, I don't need a lot of editing because I just talk nonstop. I don't have a lot of pauses. So that's really fun for me and fun for you. Okay? So here we go. Okay. First of all, I have so many thoughts and opinions, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to like organize all of them because I really want to make sure that I'm giving like a good conversation to every single member of this group because, well, first of all, there's a lot of girls in this group, okay? I have my little notes down here, so if you guys see me like looking downward, it's because I'm looking at my notes that I have for the show. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Okay, so I have a lot of notes about this show, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to like expel them all to you. So I guess let's just start off with the cast. So we have Michaela, we have Taylor and Whitney, who are like kind of the main girls that the show is always constantly talking about. We have Macy, we have Demi, we have Jen, we have Layla, and we have Leanne, and we have Jesse. And I think that's like the main core group there. That everybody that's in the show, that's who they are. So the premise of this is like, it's a lot like Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. It's a lot of like deeply devout Mormons and then like half-ass Mormons, as I think they would like to say about each other. So some of these women are very, very devout. Like Whitney and Jen, I would say, are like the most devout Mormons out of everyone, and they all obviously live in Salt Lake City, Utah area, because that's where all the Mormons, that's like their mecca, is like that's where they're from. And so like a lot of them, most of the women here, I would say, are definitely Mormons, but I would call them like a modern Mormon woman. Whereas Whitney and Jen, I feel like, are constantly towing this line of saying they want to be a modern Mormon woman, but also really holding still to these archaic values that I don't understand why they're holding on to them so hard when they don't suit them, they don't do anything good for them, and at times it proves them to be some of the most hypocritical people in the group. If you guys want, while I'm talking, I'll also tell you what I'm using in case you guys give a shit. Some of this, it has an affiliate code to Amazon. Some of this doesn't. I don't truly remember off the top of my head, but some of this I might actually have in my Pinterest board if you guys want to look. So just a heads up there, I want to try to be transparent. This is the e.l.f. Skin Holy Hydration Face Cream. And then this is the Rare Beauty Pure Diffusing Primer. So let's talk about, like Taylor and Whitney's situation. So Taylor, obviously, if you've seen it, we start off learning basically that she was the one that was part of the OG like Momtok crew. And seriously guys, the amount that they say Momtok, if you guys did a drinking game, every time they said Momtok every episode, you'd be an alcoholic. Like that's how much they saying it. Every 5 seconds is Momtok, 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 Momtok. I'm like, we get it. We get it. And I'm sitting there laughing to myself because I'm just like, they're acting like they invented like the fucking wheel. They're acting like they invented sliced bread. Like they are acting like what they have done is like the biggest thing that's ever happened to the internet. It's like, I'm sorry, like as a mom, not to be a hater, but when I see someone posting something like #MomTalk, like in all genuineness, I see red flags. I'm like, something ain't right. It's giving Karen. Like it's I don't know. It's interesting to me when I see those things. So Taylor and like Whitney were like originally part of this group all together that like allegedly started Momtok or whatever. And Taylor outed a bunch of people within that group but nobody on the show, which I found so interesting. I'm like, girl, bring the people that she outed on the show. Like, let's get the real tea over here. Let's see the whole posse. Let's see the people that were like genuinely infected by this. Because at the end of the day, like these other women, they weren't a part of the swinging shit. So it's like, did it really affect you that bad? Like, I have no idea. And also, who gives a shit if you're swinging? Who cares? Like, who literally, like the outside world doesn't give a shit that you're swinging. Like, no one cares in that department. So basically Taylor went online and she outed a group of her friends for doing swinging, and how basically when this happened, Taylor kind of took it too far and ended up being in like an intimate-ish relationship with one of the girls' husbands. And so she got divorced. She has 2 kids, I believe. She got divorced. And that kind of changed her life a lot. And it's so crazy because like at the beginning of the season, you literally like hate Taylor. You're like, oh my God, this like childish little brat. And not to take away from the fact that she's still very childish, which we'll talk about. But she kind of starts off, at least for me, I started off not liking her. I was like, holy shit, this literal pain in my ass. Like, who the hell is this girl? Only for her to have like a massive redemption arc. Like, it's kind of crazy. And so Whitney essentially, I think, feels like she, like, I kept the group together. Like, basically she's giving me the vibe of like, I basically kept this crew afloat, like, while all this was happening, blah, 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 blah. It's like, shut up. But when all this ended up happening, Whitney moved to Hawaii for like 2 months, and everybody's like, oh my God, why'd she move to Hawaii? Oh my God, she's back from Hawaii. Oh my God, what's the tea? What's going on? Ba, 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 ba. And you're just like, okay, why do we care that this bitch moved to Hawaii? Like, because of this scandal stuff? And listen, at the beginning of it, I was like, oh, Whitney, like, oh, like, I feel so bad for her. Like, what I'm about to tell you, like, happened. Like, so sad. And now, up to date, this bitch can kick rocks. Like, Whitney is so evil and so nasty and so rude. And like, I cannot stand this woman. And I feel truly bad for her because she is the epitome of a victim of her circumstances and a victim of the cult that she is a part of. And she can't see outside of that. And that's really sad to me. It's very, very sad to me. Okay, I am using the Easy Blur by Huda Beauty. I have never used a Huda Beauty product ever in a day in my life, but this was going so viral, I had to give it a shot, and it is literally my absolute fucking favorite This is one of my favorite foundations I've ever used in my entire life. This is Milkshake 100B is my color. I originally got it in minis because I wanted to really make sure that I liked it, and I absolutely love it. And so now I'm gonna have minis for when we're like traveling and stuff, which is really awesome. So I'll always have it on hand. It's so incredible. I love it so much. So Whitney was gone in Hawaii for like 2 months, and we end up finding out that the reason why she was in Hawaii was not because of the Momtok shit. It was because her husband was on the internet going on corn sites. I don't know if I'm allowed to, what I am and am not allowed to say online, but basically was going on corn sites, you know what I'm saying? Corn sites. And was pleasuring himself and also having intimate conversations, relationships, posting shit to and sending messages to people on the old internet. And we find out that he was doing this for the entirety of their marriage, which has been 5 fucking years. 5 years he's been doing this to her. Okay, so I apologize if I have zero sympathy for this man. Like, I'm genuinely could give 2 rocks about this guy. Hold on, I have to get my fan. I'm dying of heat. Okay. All right, so I told you guys, this is like raw. I'm giving you the raw footage here. It's like we're on a live right now. It's basically, this is like we're FaceTiming each other. Like, hey girl, how's it going? Did you guys watch The Secret Lives of Sister Wives? Like, that's what this is, okay? So like, enjoy this. Put it on in your background. Put it on while you're working out. Put it on while you're working, honestly. Put your headphones on, listen to me while you're working, because this is just a convo between just girls, you know what I'm saying? The girls and the gays and the days. Okay. That was so fucking cringe, and I apologize. Okay. So we find out about that he's basically been doing this the entirety of their fucking marriage, which is so fucked up and disturbing to me. And I will say this about Whitney, and like, this is gonna, you know, this video is gonna be all over the place, and you guys already know that if you follow me, you're aware of this, because this is literally just a conversation. This is not like a episode by episode guide. Whitney to me is, like I said, I think she is a victim. The only thing she's a victim of is a victim of her circumstances. Instead of taking what she's learned from going to church, the values from the church, and sifting through them and organizing them to go, okay, these things clearly, as a smart, intelligent woman, because don't sit there and tell me that this woman's stupid. She's not stupid, okay? As a smart woman, what part of these values from my church are helping me, making me be better, making my marriage seem better, and what part is not helping me at all? And the reason why I know this bitch is a smart chick is because the way she manipulates, and then 2, because the whole point that they keep talking about why they wanted to have this platform and start this platform is because they really wanted to emphasize like the modern Mormon woman, okay? But really, like, to me, like, on Whitney's part, it's just, like, she wants likes and follows and wants to make money and be fucking popular. The rest of the women, I feel like, genuinely want to, especially, like, Demi and Jessie, they clearly want to have the sense of being a Mormon and having a sense of religion and faith and all this stuff, but they want to be like, that doesn't mean that just because we're Mormon, that doesn't mean we have to bow down to our husbands. That doesn't mean we have to take abuse. That doesn't mean that we have to dress a certain way or talk a certain way. That shouldn't be a part of our faith that ostracizes us, keeps us away from certain things, like, and puts us down as women. That's not what that should be. And I love that message. I love what Jessie and Demi are kind of trying to push forward of, again, like, who gives a shit if we drink? Who gives a shit if we drink coffee? Who cares? Like, all these things, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That has nothing to do with us having faith in something larger than us. And I fucking love that. So, everybody on the internet is obviously, and I'm not gonna lie, myself included. Here's the thing is I have a hard time because, like, on one hand, I do not want to out somebody. I don't think it's our job to out another human being, whether we like what they have to say or not, or like their actions or not. The only people that we should be allowed to out, in my opinion, genuinely, is like politicians that hate and say evil things and push hatefulness onto members of the LGBTQIA community, but in the background are sucking you know and you know what in the background of the sex that they constantly say that they hate all the time. Those fuckers can get outed. That I don't give a shit. I'm sorry, if you're gonna make laws about like basically trying to like murder trans people, and we find out that you actually suck dick and cock, I don't give a shit if you've been outed. I genuinely could give two shits, okay? I don't care. But for people like this guy, I'm just like, listen, I don't want to out him, but I will say, as a curious-minded person, I do have questions about what websites this person was on. Because usually, not always, obviously, usually when men of a certain group of religions and cults are doing devious shit, it usually ends up being one of two things. It usually ends up being children are involved, or members of the LGBTQIA plus community are involved. So I'm just curious as to what the browser history was. But at the same time, it's none of my business, okay? It's none of our business, but I think about it. I'm just saying, I stay up at night and I think about what is Connor's search browser history looking like these days? You know what I'm saying? Like, just have some questions. But not my journey, not my issue, not my problem. But that's kind of where we're at there. And eventually we find out, like, that Whitney's pregnant. And I'm just like, girl, kids don't make it better. Like, I don't know how to emphasize this enough to people that kids genuinely do not make marriage better. If anything, they make it harder, they make it worse. Like, they're so beautiful and there's so much joy from having children, obviously, because, like, I have two of them and I love them so much and they're so great. But I know for a fact that if I didn't have children, my conversations and arguments would probably be a lot less, because you don't have that added stress of another human being on top of you all the time. It just is what it is. And like, and I don't feel shame. Like, I don't feel shame saying that, because that's the honest truth about being a mother. Like, it is one of the most rewarding things in the whole world. It's also it's not even it is the hardest thing in the whole world to be a mom. It's even harder to be a good mom. It's easy to be a shit parent. It is so easy to be a bad parent. It's so hard to be a good parent. And it's like, girl, don't add another kid to this issue and this problem, because I'm sorry, you cannot convince me for one damn second that this man is not still doing this shit and still has these problems and still has these concerns. And you also can't convince me that, I don't know if you guys have ever watched the movie Saved, but basically, like, this girl and this guy are dating. And they're very, very, very religious. They're Catholic Christian vibes. They're very, very religious. And her boyfriend comes out and basically is like, I'm gay. Oh my God. And she's like, are you sure? But like, I feel like I need to help you. And like, Jesus is calling me. And so she ends up trying to have sex with him to convince him that he's not gay. Well, she ends up getting pregnant because, again, they don't fucking know anything about pregnancies and how to have babies and shit. So she ends up getting pregnant and has a baby with her gay ex-boyfriend. And it's giving like one of those situations. It's like, oh, let me prove to you that my husband is not stepping out on me and is not doing nefarious things behind my back by having a baby with him. Like, and it's like, girl, give it up. Give it up. Like, just give it up. Why? It would be, okay, here, I'll give her this. I will give her this tiny little thing. It would be one thing, okay, if he cheated on her like one time, okay? If he had a slip up, okay? I could get over a slip up, okay? I couldn't. Me personally, I couldn't. But like, as like a outsider, as like a friend, you know, I could get past my friend being like, hey, he messed up this one time. I have friends that have been like, hey, he stepped out on our relationship this one time. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And it's like, okay, well, I want to work through this. I want to talk about it, and I want to see what we could work on. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, he slipped up one time, no big deal. This man slipped up so hard he was on a fucking ice skating rink with no skates on. That's how much slipping up he did for 5 years. That is embarrassing at that point. That is a fuck you to your marriage, your relationship. It's insulting, okay? It's embarrassing. And for me, I have two thoughts about it. One, she is sadly living that Mormon life and is like, oh my God, I forgive you, everything's fine, ba 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 ba. Or two, she knew this whole entire fucking time, was letting him do it. And by letting him, I mean not like letting him, but was like, it's fine, just don't embarrass me. And when it came out that that was happening, he had to kind of like fall on the sword per se, and admit to what happened and try to make her look like the victim of the whole situation, but he's still gonna keep doing the same shit. Does that make sense? Did that make sense what I was saying? I was having a little bit of an ADHD moment and lost my train of thought. But does that make sense? Like, she either knew the whole time and is just like, oh yeah, my husband, blah, blah, blah. Or she is, again, like a victim of of her religion, where she can't just like, what is it called? Like, what is the phrase? Like, see beyond the trees, essentially. Like, maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. All I know is that it's just, I don't know. I feel, on one hand, I feel so bad for Whitney and how she thinks she has to live her life like this. But on the other hand, you do get to a point where there's a thing called the internet, and there's a thing called being a adult. She's 30 years old, guys. And I think by now she's like, what, 31, 32? At some point, you do have to own up and get better and become better, and you don't have to be a victim of those circumstances. This is coming from somebody, though, that was religious, believed in God, all that fun stuff, but I didn't have a bad experience. I didn't have a bad experience as a Christian person. I actually had the polar opposite. I had an incredible experience. I had amazing people around me. No one ever made me feel like I needed to be anything or do anything. No one made me feel like I wasn't appreciated as a woman. Actually, a lot of women held a lot of responsibilities in my church, and were leaders of my church versus men. I had a lot of women in my life that were leaders of my church. And I also had queer people in my life. We had a trans person at my church. I don't know what their experience was, obviously, but for like being around them, I never saw anybody making fun of them. I never saw anybody, like, I'm talking like adults. I never saw any adult like ostracizing them. That doesn't mean they didn't. I just didn't see it. So I don't know. I just didn't have like a horrible experience. So it's just so like, I just feel so bad because I feel like people should be allowed to have their faith and have their religion. You just don't need to push that onto somebody else. This is such a bad idea. This is such a bad idea, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm putting this on top of powder like a dumbass. That's okay, I'm still doing it. I'm still gonna do it. I just feel really, 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 really bad for, honestly, not just her, like Jen. I feel bad for Jen too. But you do get to a point where you're like, okay, like, it's not like you're in a cage all day and like, you don't understand the concept of like the modern world. You do know that there's another option out there. You do know that there are other ways to go about your marriage and to go about your life. You just don't want to because of multiple reasons. Now, Jen and Zach, I think the reason personally why Jen won't leave Zach has to do with Zach's family. I don't think it actually has to do with anything literally other than that. I think that, because we heard in the very beginning when we first met Zach, who is literally a shade of milk at this point, like Jesus Christ, we know that his family is, I'm going to assume, very well off. They're all like surgeons and shit. And I don't know how much money surgeons make in like Utah, but a heart surgeon, I work for heart surgeons. They make good money. They're not making nothing, I'll tell you that. And they have nice houses and nice lives. They got fucking nannies. They got it all, okay? But, so like her family's rich, his family's rich. I mean, she literally, it was so sad when I heard her talk about how her mom is a cleaning lady for the hospital that her father-in-law works at as a heart surgeon. I was like, Jesus Christ, that's kind of weird and interesting. I don't know how I really feel about that. That's got to be very, very awkward. And like, I would assume that there is a sense of like a downturn of like, you are beneath us kind of vibe between all of them. And I have this feeling, and I'm obviously, this is just my opinion. This is not, there's no fact, there's no nothing to back this up. I have a feeling that she is probably, at least I know I would be, scared to divorce Zach, because I'm going to assume that they're a powerful-ish type of family, probably know a lot of people, probably have a lawyer on, you know, on retainer at all times. And I think I would be nervous that Zach and his family would try to destroy her life and would take those kids away from her and literally like ruin her life, probably get her kicked out of the church, like all of that. And I have a strange feeling that that's a big piece of it. Is it? I don't freaking know, because I don't know these people. But I have a feeling that that is one of the reasons why she is afraid to leave the church. Not leave the church, sorry, leave Zach. Zach is a piece of shit. I'm sorry. Like, it just is what it is. Like, this man literally brings nothing to the table. He doesn't have a fucking job. She's paying for med school because his parents tried to help him with med school and help him have money to uphold while he was going to med school, and he fucking gambled it away because he has a gambling addiction. I'm like, I'm sorry. You're a sack of shit. She's literally this little like Momtok thing that you're still like, oh my god, Momtok, I don't give a shit. This whole like Momtok bitchery that you're having an issue with, like, I don't care. We're moving to New York. I literally would be like, bye bitch, move to New York. Have fun. Who's paying for it? Not me. Because you don't like my TikToks and you don't like my little account that's been making the money. So clearly you don't need it. If you don't like it so much and you think it's a piece of shit, you think Momtok is a joke, then I guess you don't need my money. Give me my money. Did you see me glitch right there? Give me my money. Clearly you don't need the Momtok money then, do you? So how are you paying for med school? Because last time I checked, you love to gamble all your fucking money away, you loser. When they were in Vegas and he literally lost his shit on her, and when Demi was talking about the text messages that he was sending, I was like, ooh, girl. And you know what? It's not easy, and I am so incredibly impressed by Jessie and by Demi, because it is not easy to set a boundary with your friend about their partner. It is very, 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 very hard to set a boundary and to say, you know what? If your husband's going to say shit like that about me, one of two things is going to happen. Either he's going to apologize to me to my face, or I don't need to be around him. And I'm okay with that. Because I'm sorry, you don't get to, just because you didn't say it and you're my friend, you are an extension of your partner. And if they say things like that about your friend, I would hope you'd stick up for me and be like, don't say that about them. You need to apologize, blah, 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 blah. And that little bastard should have apologized. She should have made him apologize. And now that he's like, he manipulated her clearly and probably masterminded something to get her to go to New York. So like now they're in New York. She's nowhere near her family. She's nowhere near any of those friends. So now she doesn't have, basically Zach has her right where he wants her. She has no support and nobody to, essentially, I'm going to paraphrase here from what I'm sure he said, fucking like cackle in her ear about like, you know, Zach's doing this, watch out for this, da da da. Now I'm sure he's like, good, now nobody can talk shit about me and, you know, tell her how to be with me. I can like maneuver and manipulate her even more. And I'm like, good on, honestly, good on Demi and Jessie for calling that horse shit out. And being like, nope, this is not okay. You don't understand. Like, and you know, listen, you can only do so much though with your friends when they don't want to be better. And they don't want to make their lives better. They don't want to help themselves. You can only do so much. The only options you have is you just kind of sit there and you just set a boundary of like, I don't want to hear about this shit anymore. And then you just hope that they're safe. Or option two is you say your piece and say what you need to say and you say bye-bye. Or like option three is like you say your piece and you keep yourself within this shithole. I couldn't do it. I can't listen to my friend bitch and complain over and over and over again about their partner, and then all of a sudden just be like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. It's so fine. It's not fine. It's literally not fine. Everything that everything that we now know about Zach is so fucking out of pocket and so rude and so awful and so bad. And I guarantee his fucking mother was sitting there friggin' probably giving him a nice little cuddle in a fucking rocking chair like a little baby that he is, and probably was like, oh my god, boo boo baby boo boo, like, you're totally right, babe. I can't believe that. To literally say that you want to end your marriage because someone went to a Chippendale show that they didn't know they were going to, you're a demon. You're a demon person for that. She didn't even know that that's where they were going, okay? It's one thing if it was like premeditated and you're like, oh, like, I really wouldn't like it. I don't like the idea of you going to that. I really wish you wouldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. It's another thing to literally go, you have no good values. How can I be married to someone like you? We can't be together anymore. That is emotional terrorism. You guys, I barely talked about all the other shit I use. Make It Last Original by Milani, NARS, Laguna, Rare Beauty, Powder Blush and Happy, Road Beauty, in the color Piggy, which I think is so funny that it's called that. Road Beauty, yeah, Rare Beauty and Happy Soul for the bronzer stick. And I'm sure there's other things I use that I can't think of, but yeah. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is Taylor and Dakota and like Macy adjacent situations. So for me, let me just say this. I think Macy needs to just give up the dog. It's not worth it. Clearly, no matter what you say, these two people are going to make their own choices, so it's not worth constantly trying to bring things up. Like, if I got to a point where I knew my friend was not going to take advice in the way that I think would be best for them, I would stop giving them advice. Completely, full stop. And if someone came to me and was like, hey, I have tea, I have gossip, I have this about your best friend's, partner, baby daddy, boyfriend, whatever, I'd be like, cool, don't send it to me, please. Go send it to her. If you have an issue, if you have a concern, you need to go send it to her. I am not her speaking person. I am not a middleman for her. If you have an issue or a concern, you need to go talk to her about it. That's what I would do. I'd be like, I've said my piece. I've told her how I feel about the situation. I told her how I feel about her partner. She is going to do what she wants to do, and that is okay. And just go from there. Okay. Because clearly there's just nothing else you can do. Also, like, your friend just is like about to have a baby. Like, I went back and forth with that. I'm like, was that a good time to like tell her that? I don't really know, because like, yeah, you want to know, obviously, like if your baby daddy's like cheating on you and shit, but also, not that falling right on my goddamn nose, but also, like, I'm about to have a baby in like a day. Like, can we just wait? Because like, that's not going away. The baby is coming. It doesn't matter what happens. The baby is going to be here. So we might as well just wait until the baby's here to have a conversation about it. Nothing's gonna fucking change. It's not like I'm gonna kick the man out from seeing his, from seeing his baby. That's not gonna fucking happen. He has, he legally has a right to this kid. Like, that's not gonna fucking change. So we might as well not talk about it until after the baby is born. And honestly, we might as well just like let it go. Like, just move on, let it go. It is what it is. One thing I did appreciate that Taylor said about the two of them is that it's hard to fix one broken person in a relationship. It's even harder to fix two broken people. And I think the issue is that they are not, I don't know what they're like up to date. I think they're still together, but I hope what happened to them, or what will happen to them, is that they've basically been like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We are gonna, today, as of right now, we are going to start at 0. Anything that happened before this date never happened. I don't care how many messages I get. I don't care how many things I get. I don't give a flying fuck. I don't care. Because you've made mistakes and I have made mistakes. Because I'm sorry, there is no way in hell that Miss Taylor didn't do some fucked up shit to Dakota. Not to say that either one is right or wrong, but to sit there and make it seem like Dakota made all these problems, but she didn't. I do not believe that in any way, shape, or form. I just don't. I'm sorry, I don't. I think Taylor had a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and obviously she's admitted to all those issues and problems. And I just feel like at some point you need to forget about all those things and stop bringing it up over and over again. Like, I'm literally working on that with my therapist right now. One thing that she said to me, which I thought was so, like, a big helper for me, was, if this would not matter to you in 2 months, why does it matter now? Because you get into these little stupid fights, these little stupid tiffs that mean literally fucking nothing. But they become bigger things because you keep making them bigger things, and then they end up bringing up bigger concerns and problems that you don't need to be talking about. So she always said to me, if you're about to argue with your husband, if you're about to bring something up, just ask yourself really quickly, is it worth this argument? Is it worth this fight to ruin your day or ruin your afternoon when you genuinely don't give a shit in 2 months? And I'm like, wow, you're right. And let me tell you right now, a lot of our arguments have ended, and most of our arguments are from me, okay? If I'm gonna be real and raw with you, most of the arguments that we're having is because I started them, because I'm a little shit drama queen sometimes. Do I have to shake this? Ooh, this smells good. You keep eyes closed, hold spray in the central motion. Okay, let me shake this a little bit. This is the On Till Dawn mattifying waterproof spray. I wanted to try it out because I knew my makeup was going to be on for a long time today, because I had to put it on while my baby's taking a nap, because if I put it on any other time, he won't let me fucking do it. So I'm literally not going to the movies until like 4:30, 5 o'clock, but I have to do it right now at like 12:30, because if I don't, I'm not going to have time to do it. So let's just like see how that holds up on my makeup today. We're gonna find out. Everybody's always talking about this fucking spray, so we're gonna see if it's actually worth it or not. I just think that they need to hit the restart button, and they need to just like, okay, from the time our son has been born, we're gonna say that this is our restart date of our relationship. We are gonna no longer talk about the past. We're going to no longer talk about things that were bothering us, making us struggle. We're no longer going to talk about anything to do with cheating, anything to do with anything like that. We are going to make a commitment right now to each other that we are not going to bring that shit up anymore. And if we feel like we have to bring it up, we need to bring it up with a therapist, not with each other, because it is clearly not worth it for them to keep hashing this bullshit up. It is more worth it to stop talking about it and move on and become better people. Because clearly, you know, Taylor has been through it. She's had a rough go at it. Her mother is half of her fucking problem. I think her mother likes to rev her up and start shit with her, which I don't fucking like. I think that is so inappropriate. I hate that. I hate that about her mother, is I don't like that. I feel like her mother revs her ass right up and like instigates a lot of their issues that they have with each other. And I think that's so, it's just so juvenile. I think that's where a lot of her juvenile behavior comes from. It's from her mother, like basically like instigating a lot of that shit. Like to be like, oh my God, when she literally said to Taylor, like, oh, pick up the phone and answer it, and we'll say that you're like, and text him that you're going into labor and that he needs to answer the phone. You are fucked in the head for saying that. I'm sorry. You can literally fight me on that. That is so unbelievably disgusting that you would do that. I don't give a shit what's going on in their lives. That is so messed up to do that, and so dangerous to do that. And the fact of the matter is that like, whether this man's right or wrong or has done whatever he has done, he is an addict. And to manipulate him and to do things like that to him, I'm going to assume is extremely dangerous behavior to do to an addict. I found that to be so unbelievably inappropriate to do that to him. I also think that part of the reason why they need to move on and they really need to call a truce on their relationship is partly because he's an addict, because he's always going to have a history. He's always going to have this part of him that fucked up and did horrible things because he was on drugs or drinking alcohol or whatever the fuck whatever the fuck he was doing. So no matter what he does, he always did this one thing in his life. He always had this moment in his life where he was an addict and he fucked up. And so I'm sorry, at some point, if someone is willing to change and grow and willing to get better, you have to stop holding things against them that they did when they were an addict. You can't keep doing that to them. It's just not fair because they're never going to get better. And if you can't handle that, if you can't deal with that, they did that in their past and you can't get over that, then that's on you to exit that relationship if you can't handle that. If you can't handle being with an addict, that's like that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't even think Dakota would like literally blame her for that, to be honest with you. That's totally fine. But then you need to like not be with them. You need to stop the fucking relationship. And I don't know, I could be wrong. You guys tell me. I genuinely could be so off and wrong about this. But Dakota gives me the vibes that he doesn't even necessarily need to be married to Taylor. He just wants Taylor to say, like, I'm committed to you. Like, I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to make our relationship better. And I want to be only with you. I genuinely think that's the only thing that this man wants her to say. I don't know. It didn't seem to me like he was going to die if she didn't marry him. But she keeps saying that. So I'm like, okay, is it her just saying that? Or is that what's really going on behind closed doors? Because he like never really says that on camera. He's always just kind of like, I want to know that you're committed to me. I just want to know that like I'm the only person in your life and that you're willing to grow and change and get better with me. And also, I don't need to know this because it's none of my technical business, but I would be interested to know if Dakota has a sponsor, and if he doesn't, he should get one. I think he needs somebody that he can call, because when he called Brett in Vegas, I thought that was, like, maybe Brett's his sponsor, I don't know, but he needs somebody that he can call and talk to when he's going through, I don't want to call it an episode because I feel like that's not the right thing to say in this situation, but I feel like whenever he's having a moment where he's feeling very insecure or scared or upset and feels like he's going to instigate a problem, I feel like a sponsor is genuinely like the perfect person to call. To just be like, hey, I feel like I'm losing myself. I feel like I'm going to make a bad choice. I feel like I'm going to say the wrong things to, Taylor, and I don't want to do that. I want to be a good, partner or whatever. I feel like a sponsor is like the perfect person to say that shit to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's who you should be going to. Or like, I don't know, like have a therapist on call or something. Like, stop calling Taylor and freaking the fuck out on her. And again, I'm sorry, there's no way in hell that this is all on Dakota. In my opinion, don't friggin' at me or hate me. I don't think this is all Dakota. I think that she instigates some shit. I think her mother clearly instigates fucking shit and gets them into arguments that she needs to get her fucking nose out of. But I think that, one, they need to stop telling each other every fucking thought in their head when they're upset. Two, I think Dakota needs to find a sponsor. And three, I think they need to mutually decide, and they might have already all done this, you guys, because this is like, I don't know what up to date looks like, I also didn't listen to the Vio Files podcast with Taylor. So if you guys want to comment below, like, if any of those questions that I'm asking are answered, I would genuinely like to know. But I don't know how I feel about Dakota, because it's like, I don't know, I've learned, like, so like, I follow Peter Mon, who is a recovering addict, drugs and alcohol, I believe, is a recovering addict, and he's always talking about how, like, you have to make amends with people in your life. Obviously, it's part of, like, if you follow a 12-step program, you want to make amends with people in your life that you have wronged, but you know, you don't have to be, you do your thing, you say what you need to say, and if they don't want to forgive you, that's okay. You have to accept that. And I feel like being with Taylor and her not accepting his changes in behavior and always constantly bringing the past up, I feel like as an addict, that is a sign that you need to walk away. Because I would imagine it must get to a point where being around Taylor and talking about everything over and over again is, as an addict, so fucking triggering. I could be wrong, but I would, because I'm not an addict and I've never had an addiction to anything like that before in my life, thank God. But I can only imagine that having those conversations over and over and over and over and over are so triggering to him. And to me, if I was an addict, that would literally not be worth it to me. Also, I'd like to say this, and I know this is gonna be controversial, but I'm not saying this for Taylor, I'm saying this for like basically anybody that's watching my video that is with somebody that they maybe shouldn't be with and they're having sex with them. Number one, protection at all costs. Please, 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 wear protection. Please wear protection, number one. And number two, know the laws where you are living in regards to abortions. I don't want to get like in trouble on here. I don't know. I don't really know the rules. I don't know all the rules, okay? But I will say it's like, know the rules about abortion care where you are from, because whether people want to say it or not, you don't have to have a kid with somebody like Dakota, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wish that, I get sad about people that are so religious because they have these situations that happen to them where, you know, in their sense they're having a baby, and you can clearly tell that maybe they shouldn't have had a baby, but that conversation never gets brought up. Like, they don't have to have a baby. Like, you don't have to have a baby if you don't want to. If you don't feel like the person you were with at the time is worthy of having a child with you, you don't have to have a baby. And I just wish that that conversation would come up. But I already know what the conversation would have been. It would have been like, absolutely fucking not, we're not doing that. But I just want people to know that if you feel like you are with somebody that you don't see yourself being able to work through having a child with, it is okay to go have an abortion. And it is also okay if you want to go have it and not tell the other person. I know that's fucked up and I know that's scary, but I'm saying that in the sense of like, if you are scared. If you're scared of your partner and you're terrified of them and you don't want to have a baby with them, you don't have to bring them with you. They don't have to even be a part of it. It is your body. It is your choice. And you can go and do that, and you don't have to tell them to protect yourself. I'm just saying, if you need that type of protection and safety, you can get that type of you can get that type of help, and you should be able to get that type of help. And I get sad when I hear situations like Taylor's where I'm kind of like, okay, like, if she would have had an abortion, or if she would have not been, you know, if she would have not gotten pregnant, it's like, would she still be with Dakota? You know what I'm saying? Like, there, again, it's another thing of like, you are now a victim of a circumstance, and that's really sucks, because those types of circumstances, like, you want to talk about like commitment? Fuck marriage. Marriage is not a commitment. Marriage can be broken at any time, any place, any moment, okay? Children, that's a commitment. Having a child with someone, I am divorced and I will forever be attached to my ex-husband because we had a kid together. I will never not be in that man's life, and he will never not be in my life because we chose to have a kid together. And that's something that I've had to deal with I've had to deal with for my entire child's life. And that's a choice that you will end up having to make. And if you don't feel like you could deal with that person, if you ever got divorced and had a kid with them, don't have a fucking kid with them. Don't do it, Linda. Don't do it. Don't have children with somebody that you're afraid to be divorced from, because you are afraid that they are going to make your life a living fucking hell, because you will be stuck with them for the rest of your life, which is another reason why I don't think Jen is ever going to divorce Zach. Because it's like, oh, I'm gonna be stuck with his ass every day of the rest of my fucking life anyway. I might as well just stay with him, honestly. I swear to God, if that little shit didn't pass his boards and doesn't become a surgeon, can I tell you how pissed off I would be as his wife? I'd be like, oh, so I paid for all of this off of my TikTok that you don't like, off of the TikToks that you think are silly and stupid. I paid for all that so you could go to med school and you didn't pass your fucking boards? Suck my D. That's what I would say. That's what I would say. What else? Macy, I think that she needs to, like I said, just kind of drop it and move on. There's nothing else to talk about. And if someone else brings it up again, tell them to go fucking DM it to Taylor and stop DMing it to you and stop talking to you about it. And I would just drop it. And it is what it is. Like, I think Whitney is never going to admit she's wrong. She's never going to fess up to the behavior that she had. And she is like a cult person, and she will find a new set of girls. She will be their little cult leader, and she will be fine. She will be fine. I'm not worried about Miss Whitney. I just hope that Whitney could have such a better life. A lot of these women could have better lives. Like, even like Demi and Jesse talk about that because they're both divorced, which I didn't even know Demi was divorced. And even Demi was like, we're literally having like kids and getting married before our brains are even like fully fucking developed. And I'm like, damn, Demi, dropping knowledge on these hoes. And Demi and her husband, like, okay, you guys, it's so annoying. Like, I would like to know more about their situation and how they met, how they know each other, blah, 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 blah. Because I'm sure if you guys followed my TikTok, you know that he was married, Brett was married to Angie Harrington from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. But he doesn't, okay, you guys, I could be so fucking wrong, obviously. And like, if I'm wrong, like literally DM me what I'm wrong about and like send me proof. I'd be like, send me down a Reddit rabbit hole. I would love to have one, okay? If he is a horrible demon person, like, please tell me. But on the show, you guys, he seemed so chill and he seemed really put together. I would just be interested in like how they met, when they met, like that whole journey, because he is 17 years older than her, which I find to be disturbing, and I don't like that. I thought I saw somewhere that like they met when she was little, and I hope that that's not fucking true, but like at least on the show, he seemed very supportive of her. He seemed to like validate her on a lot of things. He had a great sense of humor. He doesn't seem to try to like hold her down or back her, like keep her away from being herself and doing what she wants to do. And I don't know, he seemed like a really nice guy. So it would just be really disappointing to find out that he's like a fucking creep and a nasty person and horrible to Demi and abusive and shit. Like, I'd be interested to know why him and Angie broke up, but also Angie is a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, so who the fuck knows. I wonder if who has kids with who, because does Demi have a kid, or she doesn't have kids? I don't remember. I thought she did have kids. I also thought it was very interesting that on the show they barely ever show their children, and when they are with their children, the children are not a part of the storyline, which I kind of liked. I kind of liked that the kids are not the predominant conversation in the show. And that they're not like speaking to camera, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're very hidden overall, and like half the girls, you never saw their children ever. And I actually really was shocked by that. But what's funny is that like, if you go to their TikToks, they're all over their TikTok. So I'm just like, okay, I don't get it. Like, why on your TikTok you expose your children like 24/7 and it's all about them and you get them in TikToks with you. But on Hulu, that didn't happen. I thought that was really, really interesting. I was like, I wonder what that's about. I wonder why they like hardly, because I feel like that's one thing that all these reality TV shows do is they like torture children. So I was actually kind of surprised that that didn't happen, that they kind of didn't involve the kids directly. Like, we never saw Taylor's kids ever. We never saw their face. We've seen their body like floating around, but you never really saw their faces. The only ones that I really remember seeing like all the time were Whitney's kids, but I feel like she was constantly showing them so she could be like, look at me, I'm a wife, and like, look at me, my husband spends time with me, and you know, whatever. Half the fucking outfits this man was wearing and the hair that he was doing, I was like, what's going on? Like the chain and the slick back hair, I was like, what the fuck is that? It was so ick to me. I was like, you guys stop. Please, just stop. Stop giving me the ick. I don't like it. I'm trying to think of what else. Oh God, I'm sure you guys will comment below. Like, hey Sam, why didn't you talk about this? And I'll be like, I don't know, I forgot. I don't know. I think it's a good show. Will I watch season 2 if they have one? I don't really know. I just know that it's very viral on the internet, so I was like, I have to see what's going on. Obviously, I'm a very curious human being. I'm a very curious woman. But so far, I find it very interesting. I find it very intriguing. The last thing I saw, Macy like went and called Jenna, some girl that was hooking up with Dakota, and wants to like expose that. It's like, girl, stop. Just at some point, stop. And that's what I think Taylor also needs. So that's another thing I think Taylor needs to do. Taylor literally needs to tell all of her girlfriends either, yeah, I'm going to break up with him, or she needs to be like, you know what, guys? We've decided that we're going to move on. We're not going to be a part of this bullshit anymore. Do not bring me anything about him anymore. Like, directly to me. If someone brings you something, tell them to bring it directly to me. Don't have them go through you anymore. And you as my girlfriends are just going to support me and love me. And we're going to, like, I'm just going to, he's my baby daddy and it is what it is. Like, that's what she needs to do. She needs to stop, like, opening the door to these conversations. It has to stop. It has to stop. Like, girl, you're torturing yourself. You're not just torturing Dakota. That's the thing is, like, you're not just torturing Dakota. You're torturing yourself too. It's not worth it. And that's like the thing about her and about Jen and Zach. It's like, you know, it gets to a point where it's like, you can't keep saying like, if he does this, I'm leaving him. If he does that, I'm leaving him. And then when those circumstances like present themselves, you don't fucking leave them. Because guess what? Guess what men will do with that? They'll be like, yeah, sure, okay, sure you're gonna leave me. And you can see Dakota doing that. Dakota's like, you say this every day and you have yet to leave me. So like, how am I supposed to believe that you are going to leave me when you say this every fucking day? It's definitely giving like, put up or shut up, girl. Like either say that you're gonna leave me and then when I do something that you don't like, you're gonna actually leave my ass, or stop bringing this up over and over and over again. Like, it's too, like, especially for Dakota, like, he's an addict, like, that's too much. That's just too much to deal with. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Okay, I think that's like the gist, you guys, of like what I wanted to talk about for the most part. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the show. A lot of things happening. Oh, also, my baby had RSV, and let me just tell you right now, the last fucking thing I would be doing was literally making a video about anything to do with them while dancing. I just want to put that out there. As a mommy who had a newborn with RSV, I was just hoping daily that my son would fucking breathe and not, like, legitimately, like, die. It was so fucking scary. It was so awful to watch something that little go through that, and they can't take medicines. They can't do anything. They just have to, like, get it out of their system, essentially. And RSV is literally, like, deadly. It can be deadly. So I'm sorry. The video that Whitney put out, that's fucked up in my head to me. But that's just my opinion. That's just how I feel about it. That doesn't mean anything to anybody else. But to me, when I saw that, I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, my baby had RSV and I literally wanted to, like, die. I was constantly staying up with him, constantly putting my hand on him to make sure he was still breathing. Like, very, very scary. Slept, like, literally right next to his bassinet, like, every single fucking night to make sure he was still breathing. It was awful. So I'm not really sure why she thought that was an appropriate time. Again, this is like an awareness issue that Whitney has. Like, she's very not aware of the people around her. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about the whole show. I think that's the gist. Like, those are like the big talking points that I wanted to talk about. I know I kind of babbled a little bit, but like, that's kind of how I feel. I think that's all. I love you guys. Go check out my season 5 recap of Vanderpump Rules. I did a couple live ones. I did a couple regular ones. So you guys can go check all those out on the Vanderpump Rules playlist that I have. I also have some other TV shows and things that I've talked about and recapped before too. Go follow me on all social media platforms. The link is in the bio. You can also follow my Pinterest account and follow all the things that I am buying and purchasing that I love. They're all affiliate codes, so I do make a commission. So I appreciate any money my way. What else? Oh, obviously, as always, please go support and love on small LGBTQIA businesses. We need to help them and support them as much as we absolutely flipping can, because we are good boys and girls and theys, and we want to be supportive of that community. And I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing day. Your ass is just gorgeous. Like,